Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chesswise. Today we are at the next topic, that is initiative from the opening, and yet another new opening I am going to discuss today. And as I told you before, these are mostly from my games or the openings which I recommend to my students. In fact, the game today which we are seeing, it's Sicilian based and it's from a considered to be a slow line, but some lines of this opening can become very sharp, especially the way I handle them. I try to get more standard and sharp positions. As we progress through the game, I will tell you a bit more about it. I played e4. In this game, I would also like to mention that when we record our games, like this is such a old score sheet, you can see this game is mine, played in 2012, and still I have the score sheet with me. And I used to mark time. Most strong players do mark the time. So I have a different way. Everyone has a different method of recording the time. Some players record after every 5 moves. Some players record after 10 moves. Some players record at important moment where they feel they have consumed more time. Generally, it is my habit to record moves at both. Wherever I feel it's important move, or wherever I feel I have taken a lot of time, I will jot the time there. And I generally try to use not the clock time but the time consumed. Like here, when my opponent came, see this data can be very handy for especially for players, those who are 2000 above, those who are trying to become IM and all. For them it is very important to mark the time. That helps us understand where and how much time we are consuming. Are we playing fast at critical moments, or are we playing slow in general, whatever it is. It can give us many other data as well. Like see, this is a 2012 game, so I will not remember what must have happened, but because I have recorded the time, see, after c5 I have put 0.07 for the opponent, means opponent has used 7 minutes for the move. So obviously now I can recollect the opponent came late. He came around 5 minutes late, he adjusted the pieces, then he played the... See, this data can be important. So recording of time is an important factor. In this game, I will try to tell you few places where I felt I used the time. That will show us how much opening preparation also we have. Initial moves, how much time we are consuming. So today we are going to discuss a new opening against the Sicilian. I played c3. This is one of my main openings. This opening has helped me get very good positions. And in fact, this opening was, I think, responsible for me to help get my first and only IM now. This opening gives really good positions, standard positions, attacking positions. So what brings me to this opening? The fact that after some time there will be an isolated pawn on the d file. The isolated pawn will give two open files, e file and the c file. One will be open, one will be semi-open. And it gives very good play, and it becomes like many standard Queen's Gambit openings, Caro-Kann Panobotvinnik attack openings. So same kind of position we can get from this opening. Against the move nf6, I play e5, d5, d4, cd, and I don't recover with cd4. We will have some games of that line also in future. Let's look at the first game today. We will look at a line which is considered a bit slow. Black goes with the main move d5, seeing that after ed queen d5 there is no knight c3. So e takes d5, queen takes d5, white goes d4. Now one of the standard ways for black is to go cd, immediately give isolated pawn to white, and then go nc6, nf3, force white to defend d4 and keep piling on it. Let's see. In this game, black didn't play cd. I will tell you the reason for that. Black played nc6, attacks d4, white goes nf3. The point of not taking on d4 is the knight should not be allowed the c3 square. This is black's logic. It's not a bad idea. Black went bishop g4. There are some lines in which black plays e6 and keeps the bishop inside. Now here it looks like black is already grabbing the initiative. The d4 pawn is hanging. See, after cd, bf3 followed by d4 would be lost. And if white has to play b3, then this c1 bishop c between these two pawns will not be at a good place. So white has to do something else here, and white has to play the move c be2. This is a small trap. Of course, we are not anticipating opponent will fall for it. B2 helps develop, helps castle, removes the pin on the knight. The small trap is if CD, bishop takes F3, bishop takes F3, queen takes D4, then see queen is lost after bishop C6 check, then queen takes D4. If black doesn't play CD, many a times white gets to play C4 followed by D5. That also should be there in black's mind. Black generally does E6 to stop that D5 plan, or here he takes CD4. When the opponents consume the moves gradually, let's say every move is thinking evenly, then I generally don't record the time. So what I will do, after let's say 5 or 10 more moves, when I will see he has consumed, let's say anywhere between 10 to 12 minutes, or at a particular move he has consumed more time, there I will like to put the time. So for instance, here I am not recording his time. C takes D4, C takes D4, E6, knight C3, BB4. All this is of course theory so far. Here generally immediate castle is played. I prefer the move H3 first. H3 does what? Forces black to decide whether he wants to go BH5 or bishop F5. Also the tempting queen H5 is bad because of short castle. BH3, GH, queen H3 is not good here. There is no bishop on D6. So it will be simply bad for black. So black went BH5 and now I do the move castle. And here black has to move the queen. Immediately bishop C3 BC allows white to go C4. Place this bishop either on B2 or on A3, stopping black's castle. So see, bishop C3 BC position is highly favorable for white. Many people are scared of this backward pawn on the open C5. But see, soon there will be C4 and D5. Isolated D pawn but a passed pawn. Note that black king is in the center also. And there is this plan. See, C4, QD6, B2. The bishop is going to become very dangerous here. Rook can come to C1, B1 or D1 depending on what black does. So these positions are also somewhat favorable for white. So black goes queen A5, simply attacking the knight on C3. Now this game I have discussed before, same there was one Alapin's game. Alapin played the move A3 and then after the move NE7 we saw that AB was first D5 was played and then AB was played. That game we have discussed in detail. I'll try to give the link in the description. You can check that game. So after A3, generally black players take on C3 and then after BC they decide whether they want to take the pawn on C3. So bishop takes C3, BC. Till move 11, I have consumed 16 minutes in all. Okay, and the opponent has consumed 18 minutes and here he again thought for some time. Data tells me that my opening preparation has been good. And what I do in the openings generally, which is suggested by many grandmasters, when we are playing the opening, we try to recollect what is the plan. When the opponent is thinking, we try to use his time to just see what are the candidate moves, what he can play, and just have a plan against each line in our mind so that we use the time in a better way. Now see, firstly, queen C3 is the thing where he has to calculate. See, his rating is around 1800, so it's very tempting for players to take the pawn on C3. One pawn you cannot leave right easily. But see, queen C3 is very bad here. That is also like a theory only. Queen takes C3. The point of A3 is understood. After C, bishop B2. The queen has now only place on B2. And then see, there comes rook B1. This is very difficult to handle. Now some players do D5 first only and then they do rook B1. Otherwise queen A3, and here I very much like the move D5. E takes D5 and then see rook B7. This position is too good for white. The problem is that as soon as NF6 comes, white goes ND4, attacking the knight, attacks the bishop. So B2 allows queen E2 check. And you can see that this bishop is eyeing the B4, that is why ND4 to destroy this knight, and then BB4 would be winning. Black cannot take ND4 because of BB4 attacking the queen and the knight on E7 if the knight is on E7. If the knight is on F6, then also just ND4 is, then the E file becomes very critical. So that is bad for black. But for see, generally what I have observed for 18-1900 players, what I have observed, it's generally very difficult to resist the temptation of taking a pawn. So here he went for the pawn, but in a different way, which looked at first less dangerous. So he went bishop f3, bishop takes f3, first eliminating this knight. In fact, the bishop has become more powerful now, and now he took queen c3. See, I have discussed this thing before also. Whenever players take pawns this way, they have two things in mind. See, player is around 18-30 rating or something. So he is not a beginner. So he knows that he is taking some risk. Immediately after the game, he told me I should have not taken queen c3. So means he knew that he is taking some risk. But the point here is that we see that outright nothing is happening. Rook is hanging, rook will move, then I will do an e7, rook b7, castle. Position is still fine. The king becomes safe, d4 is weak. But she is handing over these bishops. And this is where I thought that see, king in the center, extra development, 1-2 developed pieces, queen open, bishop open, center can be opened up. So I definitely thought that here I should look for a combination. And as I have discussed in all the games and lessons, I am trying to apply that in my game. So I played the move, see, d5. d5 good move, nothing great about it. We want to break the center when the enemy king is in the center. Oh, I am offering the free rook, you might say. But see, after queen a1, it's very easy to spot that there is dc6. We cannot touch bc because bishop c6 check and we gain the material back. And see what is the big problem here. cb7 is coming. There is no good way to stop cb7. It means for one pawn, see, let's say even after the move rook d8, there can be the move cb, because see, rook d1 can be met by qb8. In spite of all this trouble, you can note that black is the one who is in serious danger now. Rook d1, b8 queen, rook d8, bishop c6 check, taking a7 with a check, king will be out, and it should be a winning position for white. So this is the first in a series of sacrifice which I am going to make. Black played rook d8. I hope you must have noted that ed is very bad. ed will allow me to go bd2 followed by rook e1 and then use rook b1, rook b7. So that would be close to winning as well. But what black is doing is even more worse. He plays rook d8, pinning the pawn and trying to show the power of his centralized pieces. See, pieces are still centralized, but now see, this pawn is becoming very dangerous, and I spent reasonable time calculating the move d takes c6. I thought the move dc6 should definitely work, but I had some issues in calculation, so I had to spend really good amount of time. See, here the recording of time will help me. For the move d5, see, I had used 9 more minutes. From 16 I went to consumption of 25, and at this point I used another full 20 minutes to calculate, because my intuition, or we can say indicators of attack which we use, tells me that it is white to play and win kind of position. So I looked for a combination here, and after 20 minutes of calculation, what I was not getting, I will tell you that also. I went d takes c, rook takes d1, simple rook d1, simply offering the queen, one would say, for rook and bishop, but both rooks will become very dangerous. Here see, big problem for black, because if bc is not taken, let's say queen takes a1, then c takes b7, pawn is about to queen, and after the only move queen e5, I thought that white should have many ways here. See, I like many of these moves. One is bishop c6 check, ke7, rd7, kf6, force the king out, and then just go rook d8. We can give up this c1 bishop and go b8 queen. That is one. Secondly, we can just go see bishop e3, threatening bishop a7 followed by b8. Third, I like the move g3 here. g3 and e7, then bishop f4 followed by b8 queens. So to g3 the only move is see qb8, when after bishop f4 black has to play e5. So all this is see too good. If the queen stands on c7, there is rook c1 also. So the position is, I think this should be winning for white, and there are many ways. So opponent played the only move bc6. I went rook b1. All this I had of course calculated while playing d5. My main concern was that see, now ne7 or nf6, loses after rook b8 check, I can just take h8 and then continue my attack. Also bb2 is a threat now, followed by bg7 when the rook would be lost. So I saw the move f6 also. What took me time here was I was not getting anything good with the move rook b8, and it took me really some time to find the move rook b7 from d5. From d5 it was little difficult, but I had to see this move for making a sacrifice. See, there would be many stronger players who would anyway get to this position, say, oh, so much activity, so I need not calculate everything. But I saw till the move rook b7. Here I realized that it's a winning game now. There is nothing. This bishop is going to move d2 and then rook c1, and see c6 would be lost. It is game over. Also threat is bb2 and rook c1 also. Knight e7 costs lot of material. After knight e7, rook b8, kf7, rook takes h8. We see that there are two rooks plus a bishop for the queen, which is quite a lot. Black goes g6, bishop b2, queen c5, rook c1, and now you can make out it's almost game over. If the queen moves away, bc6 wins on the spot. So let's say any move like queen a5, then bishop c6 check, king f8, and this bishop can be simply moved away, threatening rook c1. bb5 can be played, threatening rook c8, and it would be a betting attack. Knight cannot move because of bishop f6. It's a double attack. So black had to give up his queen. Black plays queen c1, bishop c1. Till this moment I have consumed only 5 more minutes from there. So 53 minutes around I have used for the game so far. And the opponent has used only 38 minutes. So maybe he has already accepted that the position is losing. He plays c5. There is nothing much. We will just conclude the game quickly. Two bishops are very strong and I played for mate. Bishop e3, c4, bishop c6 check, kd8, bishop c5. Idea is very simple. c3, bishop d6. Now there is no defense to rook b8 other than ne7. So ne7, bishop takes c7 check, forcing king c8, and again bishop comes back to d6, and rook b8 is a forced mate. Opponent chose to resign. Once he played qc1, anyway it was a losing position. So do let me know how you found this lesson and this opening. I will be making some more videos on the various lines of c3 Sicilian. Mostly I will try to cover most of my games. I hope you are finding these lessons useful and instructive. Thanks for your time.